Let's go, everybody. It's the Dv Sports and Gaming Podcast. We're here with another MLB episode with Dv Slasty. We're going to be doing shortstops today, the top 8 shortstops playing baseball right now. The healthy players that have been doing it all year so far. And we'll just jump right into it, man. I'm excited to do this one. I will say that this one is a little bit more difficult to put together. It was pretty tight at the bottom of this list. It was kind of hard to slot these guys 8 through 6. 8 through 6 is a little tough, and then 5 and 4 could have been flip flopped. It was a little bit harder than second base to me to slot these guys where they needed to be. We are doing a little bit different stats on this one, so we're going to be looking at their batting average. We'll be looking at their OPS. We'll be looking at their WAR. We'll be looking at runs scored, and we will also be looking at their fielding percentage. So with that being said, we'll jump right into number 8 on the list and get this thing going. Number 8 on the list for me this time at shortstop is Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman is the shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals. And the reason we go with him at number 8 is really just because of his fielding percentage. He's outside the top 20. He's normally accepted as one of the best defensive players in the league. I mean, on MLB The Show, the dude's got a 99 overall defense. But he's outside the top 20 right now in fielding percentage. So because of that, I'm sure he's in the upper 90s still. But because of that, we're splitting hairs here. He's outside the top 20 in fielding percentage, which means he's below 91.5% on his fielding percentage. So because of that, that's really the only negative he has, because he's pretty solid everywhere else. So with that being said, we'll jump into his stats. So Tommy Edman's batting average so far right here is number 3 on the list overall. So he's hitting 276. So good offensive overall average for him. Getting on base is going to be pretty decent. His on base percentage is 333. So not taking a ton of walks, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So average is good. I would say for a shortstop, it's a little more acceptable to be around 270, 260, because you're working so hard on defense if you're good out there, and you can kind of make up a difference in that way. So 276 is really solid for shortstop, and he's number 3 on the list. So that's you'll kind of see here that he's a top end offensive player right now. I just wish his defensive fielding percentage was better. So here we are at OPS. Tommy Edman is number 4 in overall OPS. He is one of 4 shortstops with an OPS over 800. And if you're having an 800 OPS or better, you're having a great season. So he is at 803 on his OPS for this year. Very, very solid. Like I said earlier, if he could get on base in general a little more. I mean, his on base percentage is 333, and his slugging is what is helping him at 470. So he's got a little bit of punch for shortstop. I mean, for a guy who's got a little bit of punch and hitting for average, you would kind of take that for any shortstop. So like I said, his offensive stats are pretty good. It was kind of hard to decide exactly where to place him. But I do think the fielding percentage is pretty important for shortstop. You're getting a lot of balls hit to you. If you're making those plays, if you're not making those plays, it's just going to be weight a little more for me on shortstop. So his overall WAR is 13th on the list for shortstops in the major leagues right now. It's 0.9. So that's a pretty good WAR. Solid WAR, but it's nothing special compared to some of these top end guys. Some of these guys are a whole point better than that. So you can kind of see where you lose some effectiveness, right? If you're not a top end fielder, maybe you're not affecting the game as positively as you could be, even if you're a top 4 to 5 offensive shortstop. So with that said, we will look at his run total. How many runs is Tommy Edman scoring? He is number 10 on the list for runs scored at 22 runs. And that's kind of what put him overall. That's, everything we have for him. That's why he's at number 8. I mean, he's a top 5, I would say, offensive shortstop right now. If he had a fielding percentage that was above 91.5, I think I might have him higher on the list, but he doesn't right now. So number 8, Tommy Edman. A lot of you probably don't know him, but there you go. So we'll move on to number 7. This one might be a little shocking. This is a big name, but based on stats, this is where he's got to be at. So maybe you guys be surprised by this, maybe not. But number 7 right now is Francisco Lindor. Francisco Lindor. And it's kind of crazy to have him number 7. He's a switch hitting shortstop for the New York Mets. He's kind of one of their big guys. You know, Alonso and Lindor, that's kind of what they built their offense around. And I would say he's doing some good things on offense, some good things defensively. I mean, he's top 7 shortstop in the league right now, according to me. I'm sure other people would disagree, think it should be higher or lower. I will say some of his stats look good and some of them just look not great. So we'll see. Starting out with his average, just one that doesn't look great. Francisco Lindor's batting average right now is 225. 225. That's number 15 on the list, by the way, for shortstops right now. So he's middle of the pack in the entire league at shortstop in batting average. I feel like Lindor is the guy you think of having a better like average than that, like a 260, 280 kind of batting average guy, but he's freaking struggling a little right now, making contact, I guess. So he's at 225, which is pretty freaking low. A little disappointing to see that, and that's why he's coming down on the list a little more. I'm sure in years past he'd probably be a lot higher. So starting with that, we'll move on to his other offensive category is OPS. So with looking at Francisco Lindor's OPS, although he has a terrible batting average, as far as slugging and on-base percentage, he's doing pretty well. He's number 7 on the list in OPS. And sometimes it just looks right to me when I look back and I'm like, man, he's number 7 on my list and he's number 7 in OPS. It just makes me happy sometimes. But that's where he's at. His OPS is 718 right now. So he's not having a stellar season, but he's in the 700s. That's still a solid it's top 7 OPS in the league for shortstops. That's pretty good. And then moving on to his WAR, Francisco Lindor's WAR is 1.4, which is pretty solid. It's number 6 on the list. I feel like between WAR and OPS, you kind of get an idea where some of these guys should be. It's not everything, but having him at number 6 and 7 on those, it tells me he should probably be around number 7. And that's where he's at. So I will say he's affecting his wins more. I mean, his team is built around him as a main component, and if he's not on the field, they're going to perform worse. So he's an important player for them, which means he's an important player for the list. And we'll look at his run totals. So although he's not getting a high average, he is getting on base, so his runs scored is pretty solid as well. So he's actually 3rd on the list in runs scored. So it's kind of crazy. You can kind of see why people aren't crazy about the batting average stat anymore, because you can still score a lot of runs and be effective without necessarily having a high batting average. So he's getting on base, he's slugging a little, and he's got, a decent OPS. Actually, I would say he's not really slugging that much, but he's got decent OPS, and because of that, he's able to still score some runs. I mean, that's a positive, right? He's finding a way to get it done, and if you're scoring runs, you're affecting wins, and I think that's why his overall wins above replacement is so good. So there you go. You can kind of see the potential of where he could be, but having a little bit of a down year still. And on fielding percentage, he is listed at number 7 in fielding percentage, and a lot of these are super close at the top, but he's at 98.2% fielding percentage. Only 3 errors on the year so far, and he's played 44 games, so that's pretty good. And that's why he's number 7 on the list. I mean, you're seeing a lot of 7, 6s for him. He's number 7 in fielding percentage. He's number 3 in runs. He's number 6 in WAR, and number 7 in OPS. So you can kind of see where he's fallen in line a little bit here. And maybe that's a shock. Like I said, he's a big name. A lot of people really know him. He's on the New York Mets, which is a gigantic team, and he's kind of a centerpiece for them. And he's struggling a little, but I mean, he's top seven. I would say in year past, he's probably top three, top four shortstop. But he's kind of fallen off a little. Maybe he can get it going on the back half of the year. I mean, it's still pretty early in the year, so maybe he'll move up. But that's where he's at right now on my list. So moving on from Lindor, we got Trea Turner at number 6. And this one was kind of hard because some of his stats are, honestly, most of his stats are just kind of solid. They're not, I don't think he has anything that was really standing out a whole lot to me. But because he was like kind of the same place across the board, I placed him above Lindor. And he's got a little bit better average, so we'll start there. Batting average for Trea Turner, by the way, who is the shortstop for the Philadelphia Phillies. He is hitting 262 batting average right now. That puts him at number 7 on the batting average list. So pretty solid. Like I said, if you're fielding good, if you're hitting between 260 and 270, you're doing pretty good as a shortstop, in my opinion. Just offensively, they just seem like they're usually not packing as much of a punch. It's kind of a shocker, though, because in the WBC, this guy was going crazy, and it didn't really carry over fully into the season for him. I mean, he's still doing solid, but he's not maybe where you would think of. He has potential to be a number 1 shortstop if he's really going. But right now, I got him at number 6. So we'll look at his OPS. Trea Turner's OPS right now, he is number 8 in all the shortstops in the league at a 707 OPS. And he's right behind Francisco Lindor. And that's, it kind of is a toss-up on where you want to put him, but he's got better average. So that's, I got him 1 above Lindor. If you look at WAR, I think this is where one of his biggest negatives were because the Phillies are losing quite a bit. But his WAR is 0.6. He's 17th on the list. This is also where WAR is kind of like, how much do you really value it? Because like Javier Baez is right above him. It's like, is Baez really more important of a shortstop than Turner? I don't necessarily agree with that, but Baez has had a decent second half to the beginning of the year. Anyways, so Trea Turner, that's his biggest negative is just this WAR stat puts him at 17. Sometimes that's an outcome of being on a not great team too, though. And we'll look at this run totals. So Trea Turner run totals, he's at 24. He's number 8 on the list. So you're seeing a lot of 8s, 6, 7, right in that range. And that's why these bottom guys are difficult, man. A lot of their stats are pretty close together. And he's scoring runs still. On base percentage is, let's see, 308. So he's getting on base. He's taking a little bit of walks, but his average is 262. So he's not taking a ton of walks, just, a few points higher there. And his fielding percentage, let's see, where do we got? Trea Turner is number 12 in fielding percentage right now at 96.5% fielding. He's got 5 errors on the year, and he's played 42 games. So he's doing really great on defense too, top 12 in the league. But, for a guy of his ability, speed-wise and athleticism, you think maybe he could be at the very top of that defensive list, and he's just not there. He's number 12. So, just looking at that, you can see Lindor is a little more solid everywhere else, maybe offensively and defensively, but his batting average is just so atrocious. It's 40 points worse than Trea Turner's. So I'm going to take, I'll take Trea just barely above him right now at number 6. So with that said, we will move on to number 5. Number five. So we're getting to the top end of these players. Looking at these stats, like I said, Trea Turner, Francisco Lindor, and this guy right here, number 5. They were all so close. It was hard to really pick and choose where to put these guys. So number 5 is going to be Jeremy Pena for the Houston Astros. Jeremy Pena. So Pena is a really young shortstop. He just replaced Carlos Correa a couple years ago, and they won a World Series with him. And there was like no fall off at the shortstop position, which is kind of wild considering how good of a shortstop Correa is. And this is where I got him. I got him at number 5 right now. Um, and the guy above him, it was super tight with him too. I thought about flipping those two guys a couple times. But not Baez, Jeremy Pena's batting average right now is 259. So just under Trey Turner at number 8 on batting average for shortstops. He's 259. Trey was 7 at 262. So splitting hairs there, almost the exact same average. So solid for shortstop, and he plays good defense. You'll see that in a minute. So you can kind of give him a couple points down on that. OPS for Pena. Let's see where he's at. Jeremy Pena is number 6 for OPS. He is hitting 743, or has a OPS of 743, which is good. I mean, he's on his way to an 800 OPS with a 260 batting average. So his slugging is pretty good at 440, and that's helping him out. I think if he can get, maybe some more home runs going, doubles, maybe he increases that. But I will say 743 is very good. That's number 6 on the list in OPS. So doing well with the pop in the bat too. And then we'll look at his overall WAR. He's number 7th on the list in WAR. A lot of these guys, that's why it's so difficult. They're all right around 6 and 7 and 8, and I mean he's at 7 at 1.3, and the Astros are just starting to get rolling, kind of. So he's an important player on that team, and they need him. We'll look at his run totals. So he is number 5 on runs, and he has 25 runs, which is one more than Turner, and it's a couple less than Lindor, but nonetheless, 25 is pretty good. It's tied for 5th. There's 3 guys tied at 25 for runs, and so he's affecting the scores of games. I think that's what's helping his WAR, and he's overall offensively just like a top 6 shortstop right now. So, and that's part of why I got him at number 5. Say maybe top 6, 7 offensive shortstop, but guess what? His fielding percentage, 98.8%. He is number 2, only behind defensively Carlos Correa, who is at 99.2. So Jeremy Pena is as good as it gets defensively. In 43 games, he's only had 2 errors. The dude's a freaking beast, man, and that's why he moved up a couple of spots, because offensively he's solid but not great anywhere really, but his defense is so good, and at shortstop you need that defensive just lockdown guy. I moved him up to number 5 because of that. So exciting young player. We'll see where he gets. He has the potential to be a number 1 guy on this list at some point too. But number 4 right now, just a solid shortstop in the league for the Chicago Cubs, Dansby Swanson. So shout out to Roland, our old Braves fan. He's probably missing Dansby a little bit right now. He's doing his thing for the Cubs. I don't know if he's having quite as solid of a year as he had been having for the Braves, but I mean, I got him at number 4 for shortstop. So, I mean, he's still getting the job done. We'll look at his batting average. Dansby Swanson's batting average is 269. He's the number 6 overall batting average shortstop in the league. Hitting very well. 260 with his defense, you'll take it. Or 269 with his defense is a plus. I feel like he's a guy that could hit maybe 280 if he really puts together a good year, but we'll see. His OPS. Dansby Swanson's also one of those guys that can get on a good streak hitting home runs. So I could see his OPS going up, but right now it's 5th on the list at 769. And I got him at 4th on my list. So I feel like he passes on the OPS test right around where he should be. Slugging percentage is 400. So his on-base percentage is helping him out at 368. taking a good amount of walks. So he's a guy that's working the count with 26 walks. And that's kind of the player he is, right? He's kind of like a crafty guy that finds a way to get the job done. He's just like a winning player. You think of Dansby Swanson, you think of like a winning shortstop. And that's what he does. He gets on base and affects games. His WAR is number 4 overall, which between his WAR and OPS, I mean, he's at number 4 or 5, right? So I got him at 4. His WAR is 1.8. That's freaking good. That's like a whole point better than Lindor. I think. Or no, Lindor. Tommy Edman. It's a whole point better than Tommy Edman. Sorry. So getting the job done, affecting wins, run totals. Let's see what his run totals are. Okay, so Dansby Swanson's run totals are 24 runs. He is tied for 8th with Trey Turner for runs. But remember, there's 3 guys tied for 5th, so he's like right in the mix for top 5 in runs scored as a shortstop. And that's because of all his walks. So he's affecting outcomes of games. He's affecting the scores of games, winning. And that's why he's top 4 in my opinion. Fielding percentage. We will find his fielding percentage here. I think it was pretty solid. Dansby Swanson's 98.1% fielding percentage right now in 42 games. He's made 3 errors. So you'll take that. I mean, that's why you have a little bit more wiggle room on some of the offensive stats. And he's doing good on the offensive stats. Maybe not even as good as what he can be. So maybe there's a little potential there with Dansby to be top 3. But right now he's number 4 for me, and that's his stats. I mean, solid player, playing well. I don't have much to add with that. I just think he is a winning player, and anybody that's been watching him kind of knows that he was a winning player in college as well. Okay, so number 3. This is where it gets kind of fun. I always get a little more excited towards the top end of guys because it's easier, they're more clear cut, like the best guys. And I feel like some of these might be shocking where they're placed. But number 3 on the list right now, and he easily could have been number 1, but god damn it, he's just not fielding that great. And it's Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette is number 3 on the list, and he's going to be on the top of a lot of these offensive categories. His fielding percentage is better than what you expect, actually. So he's doing better this year, but it's still not the elite, right? So, and I think that's part of why I got him at number 3, because he could have even been lower if he was fielding as bad as he has in past years. So right now, he's number 3 on the list. He is the shortstop for the Toronto Blue Jays, and his batting average is .319. This guy is topping the average, topping the hits every year at his position and in the league in its entirety. So he is at 58 hits, .319 batting average. And that's number 1 for shortstops. He is top of the list there. And no surprise here, he is a great offensive player. He is number 1 in OPS as well at 870. Almost a 900 OPS as a shortstop is freaking ridiculous. I mean, what do you say about him? He's got a .505 slugging, 364 on base percentage, and he's just freaking smashing the ball, man. I wish I could, like, if you don't know what he looks like either, the dude's got some flair. I don't like the way he wears his pants. He wears them like above his knee, all weird, but he's got some long flow and for hair, and he gets the job done offensively. I mean, he's literally 1 in average and 1 in OPS. It doesn't get much better than that. His wins above replacement or WAR, he's number 2 at 1.9. And I would have had him at number 2 on my list if he was better defensively. But because of the defense, he's a little bit lower. Number 3, which is still freaking good. Runs total for him, he's number 2 at 27 runs. I want to throw out a shout out here, by the way, to Bobby Witt Jr., who's number 1 in runs for the freaking Royals. So doing something good over there, but some of his other stats weren't that great. So didn't make the top 8. But Bo Bichette, number 2 in runs at 27. So leading the pack there, affecting scores, affecting winning games. And fielding percentage, this is where he loses me a little bit, right? He is number 11 on the list. 96.9%, which he's still, I mean, he's above 95, which is freaking awesome, but he's had 4 errors in 42 games. That's still very good. And if he can keep that up, I mean, if he was a 98% like Pena, the dude would be the number 1 shortstop, but he's at number 3 because he's at 96. He's number 11 in defense as a shortstop. That means he's going to fall down a little bit for me on the list. But as far as offense goes, this guy is as good as it gets. So let me know. Maybe I'm weighing defense too much, but for me, that's what matters at the shortstop position. That's why it's so crucial. And we're going to go on to number 2. Some people might call me a homer for this, but I don't care. The guy's stats are there, and his fielding percentage is better than Bichette's. So I'm going to go Xander Bogaerts, number 2 shortstop in the league right now. He's had a great start to the year for the Padres. It hurts me that he's gone from the Red Sox. We're playing Kike Hernandez at shortstop, which is cool and all, but I mean, it's not the same as number 2 or 3 shortstop in the league. So he's number 2 for me right now on the list. And we'll go over his stats and why. So I have him at showing 275 batting average, which is number 4 in the league. 275, you'll take that. And he's a guy that could definitely hit and improve on that percentage. His OPS is 806, which is number 3 on the list. So I got him at number 2. I'm feeling okay with that, with his OPS at number 3. His WAR, wins above replacement, he is at number 5 at 1.7. So he's just behind Dansby Swanson, and Bo Bichette is above him too. So there's a little bit of a lower stat for like out of these top 3 guys, but I mean, he's number 5, 1.7. Bichette's is 1.9. Swanson's 1.8. So these guys are all right around each other. But definitely affecting the game in a winning way and important for his team. I mean, that's a good WAR either way. His run totals, he is number 5 in runs at 25 runs. So that's good. I would say that he's actually kind of like 4th because Lindor is tied with Wander Franco for 3rd place. So he's technically like the 4th number, but he's right there, man. And the top of all of these offensive categories, he's top 5 pretty much in everything. And then he has a better fielding percentage. He's 3rd on the list in fielding percentage at 98.7%. And you don't think of him as making all like the flashy, awesome plays, but right now he's everything that he can get to. He's fielding super cleanly. He only has 2 errors in 41 games. I mean, the guy's just been getting better and better defensively every year as he gets older, which is pretty cool to see. A lot of times you start to see these guys age out. Maybe he's not getting to all the balls that he used to get to, but fielding percentage wise, the stuff he can get to, he's not messing it up. So to me, that matters, and he's number 3 in defense as a top 5 offensive guy. So with that being said, I got him at number 2, and if Bichette could clean up his defense a little to 98%, then guess what? He can move up. If Swanson could do a little more offensively, he can move up, and maybe Bogaerts could easily be number 4. But right now, I got him at number 2 because of where the stats are right now in the league. And go Red Sox, right? Even though he's not on the Red Sox. Dude was a staple of our team for a long time. Number 1, I'm going to go... Any guesses? This one should be pretty freaking obvious, right? Number 1 is Wander Franco for the Tampa Bay Rays, which this guy is just so special. He's so young, and he's a switch hitter for one. He's fast. He's just kind of doing it all for that team, and he's got so much swag out there. He's just a guy that you see him and you're like, oh yeah, he probably plays shortstop. So we'll go over his stats and why he's number 1 on my list. He's hitting 292 batting average right now, and he's a switch hitter, so he's doing it well from both sides. And he's played he's had 50 hits, so lot of scattered hits. That's second in hits and second in average to Bo Bichette. He is number 2 on the list in on base plus slugging OPS. He has 857 OPS, so he is right behind Bo Bichette again in that category. He's 50 points higher than Xander Bogaerts though at number 3. So there's a jump here in offensive guys. It's Bichette and Franco. Those are the only 2 guys really like have an incredible season so far offensively. So we'll look at the next one here. His WAR. Wander Franco's WAR is 2.5. That team is just winning a lot of games. He's a big reason why he is affecting the games, and he's 2.5 WAR, man. That's nobody else is above 2. Bo Bichette's number 2 at 1.9, and this guy's at 2.5. So, this just tells you the dude's he's a winning player. He's affecting the game everywhere that he can. And we'll look at his run total. He's had 26 runs, so he's scoring runs, helping the team win games. He's important to the core of that team. He's win above replacements, the best one in the league. OPS second in the league. Average second in the league. And we'll see where his defense is. Again, splitting hairs on these defensive guys because the numbers are all so good for a lot of these. But he's at number 8 in defense. But he's at 98.1%, whereas like Bogaerts is 98.7% at number 3. So that tells you like 98.7 and 98.1, there's a difference from 3rd to 8th. So he's like right in that super top category on fielding percentage too. But the number's a little bit uglier because there's so many guys that have good fielding percentages in the league. So number 8, maybe it could be higher. But he's so good offensively, you really you can't be mad with 98%. It's a lot better than Bo Bichette's at 96.5. So that's why he's number 1, man. He's number 2 in every offensive category or better. And his defense is better than the guy right below him on offense. So splitting hairs here with all these guys. I would take the consistency on defense and offense of Bogaerts at number 2. I'll take the freaking star play of Franco at number 1. And if you just want an offensive guy who's going to do everything at an elite level, you go with Bichette, right? But I got him at 3. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know these episodes were a lot of stats heavy and it's a lot of information. But I'm hoping that you guys are learning about players that are good right now in the league. Maybe you watch some of these teams that they're on, and you're like, oh, okay, I know that shortstop because he's one of the top guys in the league. Sam was talking about him. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll read the list one more time, see what you guys think. Again, a lot of you guys texted me on this episode for the second baseman. Please tell me what you think about these standings for me. I got Wander Franco at number 1 for a shortstop. I got Xander Bogaerts number 2. Number 3 is Bo Bichette. Dansby Swanson, number 4. Number 5 is Jeremy Pena. Number 6 is Trey Turner. Number 7, Francisco Lindor. And number 8, I have Tommy Edman from the St. Louis Cardinals. So there we go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you next time. Peace. Oh, wait. Before you go, one more thing. Next up is third base. Third base. Let's go. See you guys. We just wanted to say thanks again, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Dv Sports and Gaming Podcast. With that said, we wanted to give you guys a proper outro. Here we go.
All right, guys. So please follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We have Dv Sports and Gaming for Instagram. Our TikTok is Dv Sports Gaming, and our YouTube is Dv Sports and Gaming. We post all kinds of videos, all kinds of clips, sports related, and also just gaming clips. So please subscribe and follow.
And don't forget to utilize our social medias to interact with us and give feedback on the podcast and content that we create. We want to build a community around sports and gaming with our fans and listeners. And as always, guys, thanks for listening to the Dv Sports and Gaming Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.